you were a specialist. So you were a long snapper. So the topic that we lead tonight's show off with is about special teams and what college football is monitoring. Now, this does, again, and something that ties yet again into the NFL, that college football is monitoring this XFL and the NFL kickoff rule. Now, if you don't know what it is, just go watch a kickoff from the XFL. Basically, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the kicker kicks off at the same yard line that they normally do, but the defenders line up at the 35, and they got to be 2 yards apart. And then once the ball is caught, then the defenders can start running to make the tackle. So your thoughts on the new kickoff rule?
Yeah, as you just talked about there, this is eliminating what has been this long-standing play in football where you have one team run full speed at the other catching guys. You're building wedges, you're trying to build blocks in order to set up a return, and in order to break those wedges, you have guys running full speed. I remember back when I was playing that you'd have guys called wedge breakers as just a titled position. You'd also go as far as to say there's usually a guy called a headhunter who would run down and try to slip his way and completely blow up blocks or try to track down the ball. The very aggressive naming for these things because of the crazy nature of the play. You usually put the craziest SOBs that you had on a team on these kickoff plays. This rule for me, I think, opens up and changes the approach to special teams where it's going to be a little bit more of an opportunity to just use offensive linemen, tight ends, linebackers, defensive ends to be the ones that are doing the blocking, that are a bit more built to be more physical, and you're not needing guys to run at one another at full speed. We did get comments from Kirby Smart on this, who said that I think that the NFL is the model. They know what they want. They know what they're trying to do. And then one thing I found very interesting, in 2023, 49.6% of kickoffs at the FBS level were returned. And there are, for the most part, they're fair catches. They are touchbacks. They're usually kicks that are not returned for the most part.
That's actually not true. You got to go look at that stat because I got it right here too. Did you know that 49% is an equal to a fair catch is actually technically they use that as a return? I had to go look it up.
So the number is even lower than the amount that they're
returning. No. The number of touchbacks is even higher. Believe it or not, I pulled this up from the NFL. Are you ready?
Okay.
77.2% of touchbacks happened in the NFL a year ago. Okay. Of the 20%ish, okay, 18%, but of the about 20% of kicks that were returned, Joe, did you know that 18% of that 20 were returned from the end zone? I understand you're trying to do something that is going to help players' health reasons. But, Joe, here's my point and why I disagree with this. 80% of the kicks are going out of the back of the end zone.
Okay, I understand that there's certainly kickers in the NFL game that are kicking it out of the back of the end zone. I don't know if that with this implementation, and there hasn't been any direct indication of this, that there is some sort of encouragement or restriction that you can't kick it out of the back of the end zone. I don't know about that. But most college kickers are not doing that. Most college kickers are not. Fair. Most of them are fair catching it and taking the fair catch, which puts the ball on the 25-yard line. I would assume that if you implement a rule like this, that you are then going to take away the ability to get that touchback. I would like for more returns, and I would like to enable this ability to limit the amount of serious injuries that come out of it. I don't know what the percentage is. There's not really a high number of volume that's really covered because more often than not, it's players that are backups, third-string players, walk-ons that aren't going to get publicized. If a guy goes down with a head injury, he just gets swapped out and we don't even talk about it. It doesn't really impact the success of a team. But I like the fact that we're going to get more returns. And I got juiced up by seeing that one reverse that was created by that XFL team that called it, where they took advantage of the short field and they were able to get a big return out of it. I think that if you give creative college special teams coordinators, creative NFL special teams coordinators. You can now create in the short area of field more fakes. You can create more big explosive plays on these returns. And I think it makes the game more fun. I really do. I don't think this is a detriment at all to the game.
When are we going to give defenders a little bit of something?
That's not going to happen.
Okay. When are we going to do it?
We're already too far gone. I mean, we're way past that.
Doesn't mean that we don't need to continue to call it out and try. By the way, they got to vote on this in the NFL again next year. This is not set in stone.
Yeah.
They will change it back if they need to. Here's another thing. Joe, what if I want to do a surprise onside kick?
Well, that you can't do anymore.
Okay.
I mean, okay, but how often, though, do teams actually ever do this?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. I saw Nick Saban win a national title by doing it. I also saw my Saints do it and win a Super Bowl in doing it. Don't tell me that it doesn't affect games when we've seen national titles, games on the line be affected by a surprise onside kick. Do not tell me that my own team won a Super Bowl off of it.
Well, I would actually argue that there's potential for more creativity by the kicking team as well. Because you
move.
Wait. Oh, I guess, yeah, you can't move until it's caught. Never mind. Yeah, I mean, look, that is obviously the only drawback of all this is that you have to eliminate that play.
It's not the only drawback.
It's the primary drawback. You lose that play.
No. Joe, if there is more returns, hypothetically, which I still don't believe that there will be, if there are more returns, you know why I don't think that there's going to be more returns? Because I think that it gives a benefit to the return man, okay? If I'm a coach and you now have a bigger advantage to return it, yet I have a kicker that can kick it out of the back of the end zone, why would I even remotely take that chance? I think the opposite could happen. I think the opposite can happen where, listen, they average starting at the 30, 35-yard line with this new rule. Why would I even remotely take a chance, okay, in him getting any type of return? I think it's a detriment to the game because and why can't we just be traditionalists? How many dudes are legitimately getting hurt on kickoffs that aren't getting hurt? Joe, more, and I know that there's more plays, but you're taking away hip tackles. You're taking away so many different things to help the offender instead of the defender. I can't. Wait, do we always change shit?
But it's not particularly the concern of the amount of times that guys are sustaining serious head injuries that require them to come out of games. One of the things that they've always talked about with concussions and the long-term effects of them is less about you taking one big hit and that doing serious damage. The helmets are protective enough these days that it's going to prevent a serious big hit from really, really giving you serious brain damage. The bigger problem that we see, and it's talked about a lot with offensive and defensive linemen, is the series of consistent small hits that occur that maybe don't knock you out of a game. But if you're kicking off, I don't know, like 5-6 times a game and you're running down on kickoff and you're getting hit and you're getting popped all those times, and there's a lot of potential for head contact on those plays that are not going to get called by officials because there's so much going on. That's where the concern is. It's not about guys getting knocked out of games or getting serious, injuries. It's about eliminating those hits because they're unnecessary.
Statistically, it's only one play per game. Statistically speaking, if you score 5 times at the 80% clip, the 80% mark, let's say you kick off 5 times, that means only one time there's an actual return happening.
Yeah, but guys are still hitting each other when they're running down on kickoff.
Sure, some are, but not all the time, and you know that.
I mean, plenty of crazy MF, as I said earlier, crazy MFers run downfield and still hit each other.
Well, you know what? Let's stop hitting players in the chest because DeMar Hamlin almost died on the field.
That is a freak incident. We at least know exactly. This is something that's been studied. And there's a reason. Well, okay, wait. Here's the biggest aspect to this is that there was deliberately changed the yard line in which when you get a touchback where the ball is moved to. In both the NFL and the college game, it was moved from the 20 to the 25. We both remember at one point when it was the 20.
For player safety, and it worked.
But that took kickoffs out of the game. So we've already made this adjustment, and it just made special teams boring. It made an important part of the game very, very boring.
Well, Joe, they're doing the same thing with punts in the NFL. You can't run and go until it's kicked. What are we gonna do with punts? It's the same type of scenario.
It's not. No, it's not, because you're not all the way downfield catching guys. You're running downfield stride for stride with players.
Well, Joe,
I've been on punt enough times to know had the close. Were you ever on punt? You were an offensive lineman.
Yeah, I was on punt. I was
you the shield
protector, the shield. You want to talk about protecting people? Okay, bullshit. You know that guys go down the field to set up a wedge, and the reason that the crackback block was taken away was because of punt. There are still high impact, massive impact hits. By the way, and Joe, you know I love you, and you're a special teams guy. So there are parts of what you're saying that I'm going to just digress, because I do think that you're right in reference to it has taken the kickoff away. I do think that this is an interesting way to try to bring it back. However, okay, you're playing football. You're not playing table tennis. You're not playing tennis. You're not bowling. You're not playing golf. You're playing football, which, even more than fighting, is more of a physical sport than any sport on planet Earth. You know what? Next thing we're going to take away, how about in boxing? Let's take away the fucking jab.
Okay, but first of all, I don't have things like this. I have no problem with making these adjustments in order to make the game safer, because it is a dangerous sport. We both played it. I have gotten blasted plenty of times running down on a punt, completely laid out, hit in the head. Every bad thing that could have happened to me on punt has happened to me. I think that because of the violence nature of the game, as parents get softer and softer, we're slowly seeing more elite athletes choose to play other sports. And it's not something that's really heavily studied, but I would like for young men and individuals to be encouraged to want to play the game. Also, a piece of this that I was just trying to look up that I wish I looked up beforehand that's important to bring up. On the NFL website, these are three very important pieces.
Okay.
If you kick short of the landing zone, which is from the 20-yard line to the end zone, the ball gets placed on the 40-yard line and is treated like an out-of-bounds kick. So if you kick it short, you mess up, the ball goes to the 40. If you kick the ball out of bounds out of the back of the end zone, or if it goes out of the end zone or lands in the end zone, the ball goes to the 30. It doesn't go to the 25 anymore. So there now is an incentive by kickers to effectively place the ball in a spot where it's difficult for a returner to return it effectively. So that puts more pressure on the kicker, and it also puts more pressure on the returner to effectively handle the football, and has less room to avoid defenders. And it also increases the chance that just in general, we are going to get more returns. That's the missing piece on this, that I think that this is better than just increasing the amount of touchbacks that occur.
You're going to get the same number of touchbacks.
I would hope not. I think that would be late. If I'm a special teams coordinator, I just tell my kicker to kick it out of the end zone. That guy's getting fired.
No, he wouldn't.
That's 5 yards. That's field position.
What was the average field position on a kickoff in the XFL?
That I don't know.
Well, look that up and see.
I don't think that's like freely available information. I don't know how many people are tracking that.
Well, if it was freely available, if you're starting off at the 35, maybe it is more beneficial for you to kick it out of the back of the end zone.
Let's see if I can find it.
This is why we need more interns.
Yeah, we need. Yeah, no, I can't find it.
Funny how they leave out the most important piece.
That would be a good piece of info.
It would be a great piece of info. Because, Joe, if they start off at the 35-yard line, why wouldn't I kick it in the back of the end zone?
I think that if having a good kicker who can sky a kick effectively is going to start to become one of the most valuable pieces in this
No,
game.
they can't run until it's caught. It doesn't matter anymore.
Okay, if you can kick the ball to the back left corner to the 1-yard line, that's really goddamn hard to return.
Okay, I see what you're saying, but I mean, oh boy, brother. All right, well, let's all continue to be pansies and sew our vaginas up. That's all that this is.
That's such an offensive lineman take.
Well, you know why? Because every play, I'm having a 300-pound man stick his head right in my face.
That's my point.
So just, we're
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.